Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from, then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. I've been a truck driver for 6 years now. I've seen some weird things on the road, accidents, wildlife, even the occasional ghost town. But nothing comes close to what happened on that highway last winter. It was around 2 a.m. when I stopped at a small gas station in the middle of nowhere. I was hauling a load through Nevada, just miles and miles of empty desert stretching in every direction. The place was one of those old, half-abandoned stops, the kind with a flickering neon sign and a single rusted pump. I went inside to grab a coffee, and that's when I noticed the cashier. He was an older guy, maybe in his 60s, with leathery skin and sunken eyes. He watched me closely as I poured my drink. When I went to pay, he didn't take my money right away. Instead, he leaned in slightly like he had something to say. "You driving through the pass tonight?" His voice was hoarse, like he'd been smoking for 40 years. I nodded. "Yeah, why?" His eyes flickered to the window, where my truck sat under the dim station lights. "You're gonna see someone. Don't stop." A cold prickle ran down my spine. I forced a chuckle, playing it off. "You mean hitchhikers?" He didn't blink. "You'll see." I scoffed, grabbed my coffee, and left. I've heard all kinds of creepy trucker stories before, legends of ghostly figures on the road, of things that weren't human hitching rides. I figured the guy was just messing with me. But 20 minutes later, I saw him. It started as a shadow on the side of the road. A figure, just barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. He was standing near the shoulder, facing my truck, thumb stretched out like he was hitchhiking. I gripped the wheel tighter, my mind flashing back to the old man's warning. I didn't stop. As I passed him, I got a quick glance at his face. He was pale, unnaturally so, with deep, sunken eyes and a strange grin, too wide, too sharp. His clothes were tattered, like he'd been walking for days. I shook off the unease and kept driving. Probably just some drifter. Then 10 miles down the road, he was there again. Same posture, same eerie grin. But this time, he was closer to the road, standing just at the edge of the shoulder. My grip on the wheel tightened. There was no way. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of me. A chill crept up my spine, but I pressed down on the gas. I turned on the radio to drown out my thoughts, but all I got was static. Then, through the crackling, something else. A voice. "Jacob." I nearly slammed on the brakes. My name. A whisper, faint but unmistakable. I reached for the dial, trying to find a clear station. The static fluctuated, and then, "Jacob, let me in." The blood in my veins turned to ice. I twisted the volume knob down, but the whispering didn't stop. It wasn't coming from the radio anymore. It was coming from inside the truck. Then came a thud. Something heavy had landed on the roof of my cab. I didn't dare look up. My hands were locked on the wheel, my knuckles white. The truck's engine roared as I floored it, trying to outrun whatever had landed on my roof. But the weight was still there, shifting, moving. The CB radio crackled again, a deep static hiss filling the cab. Then that voice, clearer this time. "Jacob, why won't you let me in?" I swallowed hard, heart hammering against my ribs. The sound of scraping metal echoed above me, like nails dragging across the roof. The truck swayed slightly, and I could feel the pressure of something pressing down. I reached for my phone, planning to call anyone, but before I could even unlock it, another sound. The distinct, deliberate click of the passenger door handle being pulled. I snapped my head toward it. The door was still locked, but the handle twitched like something was trying to open it. My breath came in short gasps as I fumbled for the lock controls, double-checking that everything was sealed. And then, the worst part, the window fogged over. A long, slow breath, like someone was just outside. I couldn't take it anymore. Up ahead, I spotted a green highway sign. Rest stop, 2 miles. I didn't care if it was closed, abandoned, or a damn trap. I just needed to get off that road. I gripped the wheel, my entire body tense. "Just 2 miles, I muttered to myself. 2 miles. The weight on my roof shifted again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Whatever was up there was moving toward the windshield. I pressed harder on the gas. The truck rattled as it hit 80, then 85. The wind howled past, but I didn't care. I was getting out. The rest stop finally came into view, a lone building with a few dimly lit street lamps. I swerved into the lot, tires screeching. The second I threw the truck into park, I reached for the door handle. Bang! Something heavy slammed against the windshield. My head jerked up, and for the first time I saw it. A face. Not human. Hollow eyes, a gaping, twisted grin stretching impossibly wide. The thing was pressed against the glass, its fingers splayed out, long and thin, with blackened nails. It mouthed something, words I couldn't hear but somehow felt. Then gone. I bolted out of the cab, panting, scanning the lot. But there was nothing. No sound. No movement. Just the hum of the flickering streetlights. I turned back to my truck, and that's when I saw the door. The passenger door. It was wide open. A black, smeared handprint stretched across the handle, long streaks dragging down as if something had just slipped inside. I didn't go back for my things. I didn't even look inside. I ran to the rest stop and stayed there until morning. By the time I worked up the courage to check my truck, the door was closed again. No handprint. No trace of anything. But I swear, when I turned the ignition, the radio crackled just for a second. A whisper, buried in the static. See you soon. I worked the night shift at a 24-hour coffee shop. It's a quiet place, the kind that mostly gets truckers, insomniacs, and the occasional drunk college kid looking for caffeine at 2 a.m. I don't mind it. The nights are long, sure, but I like the stillness of it. At least, I used to. The first time I saw him, I barely noticed. He came in just after midnight, a tall man in a dark hoodie, hands stuffed into his pockets. He didn't order anything, just stood near the entrance, watching. I glanced up from the register, offering a polite, "Hey, can I help you?" No response. He didn't even blink. We get weirdos sometimes, so I didn't think much of it. Maybe he was just deciding what to get. I went back to wiping down the counter. When I looked up again, he was gone. The next night, he was back. Same time, same spot. This time, he stood there longer, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. Just watching me. I felt my skin prickle. "Sir, are you waiting for someone?" Nothing. My coworker, Jake, came out from the back, and just like that, the guy turned and walked out. "Weird," Jake muttered, watching him leave. "What was that about?" "No clue," I said. He didn't order anything. Didn't even talk. We laughed it off. But the night after that, he came back again. And then again. And again. Always the same. Silent. Watching. Never getting closer. Never saying a word. I told my manager, but he barely looked up from his clipboard. As long as he's not harassing you, there's nothing we can do. Just ignore him. Right. Ignore the guy who just stands there every night like some glitch in the universe. Then things got worse. One night, after my shift, I walked to my car and noticed something on my windshield. A note. "You're even prettier when you don't see me." My breath caught in my throat. I spun around, scanning the parking lot, but there was no one there. Just empty spaces and the distant hum of streetlights. I told myself it was a coincidence. Some creepy prank. Then I got home. The second I stepped into my apartment, something felt off. The air was wrong, like the space had been disturbed. My stomach twisted as I turned the deadbolt, locking myself in. I checked the windows locked. The bathroom, empty. The closet. I hesitated. It was closed, just like I'd left it. But my hands were shaking as I reached for the knob, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. I threw it open. Nothing. Just my jackets, my shoes, the usual clutter. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. But then my eyes caught something. A single, black smudge near the bottom of the closet door. A fingerprint. I didn't sleep that night. And the next day, when I checked the cafe's security footage from the night before, my blood ran cold. Because the man had come inside, but not through the front door. At 3:13 a.m., while I was in the storage room, a shadow moved behind the counter. A figure slipping in through the employee entrance, right behind me. I never heard him, never saw him, but he was there. I slammed the laptop shut, my pulse hammering in my ears. He had been inside, just a few feet behind me, moving in complete silence. How long had he been watching me before that? How many nights had he been closer than I ever realized? I called the police. They took my statement, looked at the security footage, and promised to increase patrols in the area. But without a clear shot of his face or evidence that he'd committed a crime, there was nothing they could do. "Just be careful," the officer said before leaving. "And if you see him again, call us right away." That was it. No real answers. No real help. Just me alone, with the knowledge that someone had been in my space, watching me, waiting for God knows what. I tried to push through my shift the next night, but every time the bell over the door jingled, my stomach clenched. I flinched at every shadow, every unfamiliar face. But he didn't come in. Not that night. Not the next. For 3 nights, nothing. I started to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, he was gone. Maybe the police scared him off. Maybe it was all over. Then on the 4th night, I got a text. Unknown number. "Don't you feel safe when you think I'm gone?" My breath hitched. I stared at the screen, my fingers frozen. My apartment was locked. Every window checked. I was alone. Right? The second text came. A picture. It was dark, grainy, but my stomach dropped as I realized what I was looking at. My kitchen. My sink. A dirty coffee cup sitting on the counter. The cup I had left there before work. The picture had been taken from inside my apartment. I scrambled for my keys, heart pounding as I grabbed my bag and ran for the door. I didn't care where I went. I just needed to get out. Then, ding. Another message. A live video feed. My hands shook as I tapped the screen. The video opened, dark at first, but then movement. The camera adjusted, grainy shadows shifting, and I saw a closet door. My closet door. The camera was inside. Inside my apartment. Inside my bedroom. And then in real time, I watched as the door creaked open. I dropped my phone and ran. I don't remember getting into my car. I don't remember speeding through red lights, nearly skidding off the road. I only remember the overwhelming, skin-crawling certainty that if I had been 1 minute slower, just 1 minute, I wouldn't have made it out. The police searched my apartment. The closet was empty. No cameras. No sign of forced entry. But I know what I saw. I never went back. I quit my job, broke my lease, moved halfway across the country. Sometimes, I convinced myself I was being paranoid. That maybe I just freaked myself out. That it wasn't real. But then last week, I got a new phone. New number. New city. And last night, I got a text. "I found you." When I bought the house, I thought it was a fresh start. A quiet place, just me and my daughter on the weekends, something stable after the divorce. It wasn't anything fancy, an older home with a big backyard, the kind of place that needed a little work. But it was mine. The first weekend Lily stayed over, she spent most of her time outside, running barefoot through the grass. 6 years old, full of energy, always talking to herself like most kids do. I didn't think much of it, until one evening, when she asked me something strange. "Daddy, can my friend have dinner with us?" I was setting the table, barely listening. "What friend, sweetie?" "The woman in the backyard." I frowned. "What woman?" She pointed out the window toward the trees at the back of the yard. "She's standing there." A chill ran through me. I stepped to the window, scanning the tree line. Nothing. Just the swaying branches, the golden light of sunset stretching long shadows across the grass. I forced a smile. "There's no one there, honey." Lily just shrugged and sat down to eat. I figured she was talking about an imaginary friend. Harmless. Normal. But then she started mentioning her more. "She's really sad," Lily told me one morning. "She says she lost something. Another time, she likes my dress. She used to have one just like it." And then a few nights later, as I tucked her in, "She wants to come inside." That one stuck with me. I laughed it off, trying to keep my voice light. "Tell her she can't, okay? We don't let strangers in." Lily just nodded, already drifting off to sleep. But that night, I woke up to a sound. Soft, rhythmic, coming from the back door. I sat up, heart pounding. It was probably nothing, the house settling, maybe a branch against the window. But then, click, the unmistakable sound of the back door unlocking. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by my bed and moved carefully through the house. The kitchen was dark, the backyard stretching into a sea of black beyond the glass door. My breath hitched when I saw the lock. It had been turned. The door was still closed, but that lock, I knew I had locked it before bed. I checked every room, every closet, every window. Nothing. Just my daughter, sleeping soundly. Just the wind in the trees. Just my own heartbeat, too loud in my ears. The next day, I bought a security camera. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to find. But that night, as I lay in bed, staring at my phone screen, watching the live feed of my backyard, I realized something. Lily hadn't played outside that day. And yet, when I looked closely at the footage, there were footprints in the dirt. Small ones, leading from the back door, into the trees. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those footprints. Small, delicate impressions in the dirt, leading away from the house. But the worst part? There was only one set of tracks. Lily's. No prints leading to the house. No signs that she had walked back inside. Just a single path away. The next morning, I checked on her first thing. She was curled up in bed, still in her pajamas, breathing slow and even. But her feet were dirty. I knelt beside her, my stomach tightening. Had she sleepwalked? I gently shook her shoulder. "Lily?" She stirred, blinking up at me. "Honey, did you go outside last night?" She frowned, still half asleep. "No." I hesitated. "Then why are your feet dirty?" She glanced down at them, rubbing one heel against her calf absent-mindedly. Then she whispered. "She carried me." A cold, sharp feeling crawled up my spine. "Who carried you?" My voice barely came out. Lily looked toward the window. "The woman." My skin prickled. I turned to look, but of course there was nothing. Just the backyard, the trees swaying in the morning breeze. I tried to keep my voice calm. "Lily, I need you to tell me the truth. Did you go outside last night?" She sighed, like I was asking a stupid question. "I told you, Daddy." She carried me so my feet wouldn't leave footprints. My stomach dropped. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to tell myself it was just a child's imagination. Kids say creepy things all the time, right? But I knew what I saw on that camera. That night, I stayed up watching the footage again. I fast-forwarded, my eyes scanning every frame. Nothing for hours. Just the wind, the shadows shifting under the porch light. Then at 3:14 a.m., the back door creaked open. My breath caught in my throat. Lily stepped outside, barefoot, wearing the same pajamas she'd been in this morning. I watched as she walked across the yard, moving steadily toward the trees. My fingers tightened around my phone, every instinct screaming at me. Then, just before she reached the tree line, another figure stepped into frame. My whole body locked up. It was a woman, tall, thin, wearing a pale, old-fashioned dress that fluttered slightly in the wind. Her hair was long and dark, hanging over part of her face. She reached out. Lily lifted her arms. And then, the woman picked her up. My stomach twisted as I watched my daughter's small body go limp in the woman's arms, like she had just given in. Like she knew her. Like she trusted her. The woman turned. And just before the footage cut to static, she looked straight at the camera. Her eyes were black. I don't live in that house anymore. I packed our things and moved out the next day. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't checked that footage. If I hadn't woken up in time. But sometimes Lily still talks about her. She calls her the woman from the backyard. She says she still visits her in her dreams. And last night, as I tucked her in, she whispered something that froze my blood. "She's still waiting, Daddy."